You know the brain's filter could be flipped in minutes, so that focus locks onto solutions and behavior follows without forcing it, because the circuit is already primed. The next 6 moves do exactly that, blending hard neuroscience with a simple identity shift, and it includes a 90-second breathing drill that calms the system on command. By the end, there's a repeatable loop to rewire attention, emotion, and action without the grind or guesswork. Every goal that sticks starts with a clean target, and the fastest way to a clean target is contrast. Spot what's not working, then flip it into a vivid want with numbers, behaviors, and timelines, so the brain has something specific to chase, rather than a foggy wish. Neuroscience on goals shows that clear aims recruit control circuits and increase effort and follow-through, which is why vague ambitions stall while precise outcomes gain momentum within days, not months. Think of desire as the map pin. Until it's dropped, the system can't route anything useful, so the first win is translating discomfort into coordinates the mind can lock onto. Here's the reframe that saves months. Problems aren't verdicts, they're signals, and every signal points somewhere. Bank stress points to income targets, energy dips point to training and sleep windows, loneliness points to outreach cadence and quality filters, and mapping those specifics turns anxiety into actionable direction in minutes. The moment a want becomes measurable, the brain quiets a little because uncertainty shrinks, and uncertainty, not effort, is what drains willpower and attention during early change sprints. A desire that's shaped in this way stops competing with a dozen half-formed urges and becomes the single instruction the system can obey without confusion. Now add a crucial nuance that separates fantasy from traction. Contrast the desired picture with the single biggest obstacle that blocks it, because holding both at once engages a natural energize and align response that drives commitment and filters tactics faster than rosy visualization ever will. This is the essence of mental contrasting. Pair the better future with the real barrier, so the mind builds a bridge instead of a daydream, increasing effort, better feedback use, and sustained pursuit over weeks and months. In practice, it sounds like 10K month recurring revenue by March. Obstacle is inconsistent outbound. Daily 60-minute pipeline block fixes it, which is simple enough to repeat and strong enough to steer. Clarity changes what the brain notices, and that's not magic, it's mechanics. Once a target is set, attentional filters begin privileging matching cues, which is why the right mentor, metric, or method suddenly shows up in the noise after a firm decision about the aim. The RAS, the brainstem gatekeeper for salience, adjusts the spotlight toward whatever's tagged important, so dialing in desire isn't motivation, it's programming what gets through the filter in the first place. The practical takeaway is ruthless specificity. Write the want, write the obstacle, and watch what starts standing out in the environment within 72 hours. Use this 2-minute mini drill to lock in the target. Name the outcome in a single sentence with a number and a date. Name one obstacle that truly blocks it. Then name one daily move that collapses that obstacle, and read it once in the morning and once at shutdown to reduce competing goals and prime tomorrow's attention. The science here isn't fluffy. Goals alter effort allocation and arousal patterns, and simple repeated clarity cues keep attention from drifting back to old loops that felt urgent but never moved the needle. Done right, this step already lightens cognitive load because the brain stops tracking a dozen unresolved tensions and chases one directive with more energy and less noise. But a target alone doesn't flip the switch. The filter locks only after a hard commit, which is why the next move is where the how finally stops getting in the way. A real decision isn't a pep talk. It's a line in the sand that tells the brain what to prioritize, so options start surfacing without chasing them. The moment commitment is made, attention recalibrates. What used to blend into the background becomes hard to miss, and this is exactly why the how shouldn't come first. The how is downstream of the filter. The filter is set by the choice. Under the hood, decisions recruit systems that weigh value, effort, and risk, then coordinate action across multiple brain circuits rather than a single willpower center. This is why half decisions feel heavy and full decisions feel strangely lighter. The network stops negotiating and starts allocating energy in one direction. When the system knows the target is non-negotiable, planning gets simpler. Noise drops and micro-opportunities start to stand out as if they appeared out of nowhere. Think of commitment as a command to the brain's gatekeeper for relevance. When a goal is flagged as urgent and important, the attentional filter increases the salience of matching cues. It's not mysticism, it's a feature. The environment was always loaded with signals. The mind simply wasn't tagging them as useful. This is why, after deciding on a niche, the exact lead magnet idea, collaborator, or search phrase often pops up during ordinary scrolling or casual conversations. The inputs didn't change, the tagging did. Here's where mental rehearsal earns its keep. Imagining the outcome as if it's already familiar strengthens the circuits involved in execution, making the future feel less like a gamble and more like a memory waiting to be confirmed. That familiarity effect reduces hesitation and accelerates first moves, calls, messages, calendar blocks because the brain has already seen the scene enough times to lower friction. The goal isn't fantasy, it's laying neural scaffolding so action feels like following a groove rather than hacking through brush. Make the decision tactile. Write a single concrete directive that starts with "I've decided" and anchors to a specific target and window. Keep it short, declarative, and daily visible. Then pair it with a 60-90 second eyes-open visualization where the outcome is already normalized. Numbers on the dashboard, a message confirming a booking, a screenshot of the account page. No soundtrack, no grand ceremony, just a quiet rehearsal of a scene that would prove the decision is real. Expect pushback from the planning part of the mind that demands certainty. The antidote is sequencing, not arguing. Decide first, then let the first micro-step present itself from the newly tuned attention. If two options appear, pick the smaller one that can be completed today. Each completion reinforces the identity implied by the decision, which in turn stabilizes the filter that keeps serving better cues. Momentum isn't magic, it's feedback loop hygiene. A quick stress test helps prove the commitment is genuine. If circumstances shift tomorrow, does the decision survive with adjusted tactics, or does it vanish with the plan? If it survives, it's a decision. If it vanishes, it was a preference. This test matters because timing rarely matches expectation, and only decisions that outlive plan changes keep the attentional filter locked on the target. Now that the commitment is issued and the filter is working for you, the next trap is jamming the signal with doubt and over-control. This is where non-resistance keeps the loop clean and the pace fast. The fastest way to stall a great decision is to wrestle with it in the mind until doubt floods the system and turns green lights red. Non-resistance is choosing not to arm wrestle every fearful thought, so attention stays freed up for the path that's already opening. When resistance spikes, performance drops not because the goal is wrong, but because internal friction hijacks processing power that should be scanning for cues, making the route look invisible when it's actually right in front. Think of non-resistance as signal hygiene, less static, cleaner reads, quicker moves. Here's the practical meaning. Don't debate limiting beliefs midstream. Notice them, label them, and let them pass without feeding them additional storylines that spiral into panic and over-control. Doubt will try to demand certainty before action. Non-resistance answers with sequencing. Keep the outcome fixed, keep the next tiny action moving, and let certainty increment one step at a time. This is not passivity. It's disciplined attention management that refuses to spend the day solving imaginary problems while the solvable ones wait politely. A simple check. If the thought tightens the chest and slows behavior, it doesn't get airtime. The moment tension rises, return to the decision and the smallest move that honors it today. That single reorientation breaks the loop where anxious planning pretends to be progress, because anxious planning seeks perfect paths, while non-resistance seeks present levers. Over time, this habit conditions a quiet confidence. Outcomes can take the time they take, but momentum is non-negotiable. Non-resistance also means not clinging to a pretty plan when reality offers a better, messier route. Plans are scaffolds, not prisons, and flexibility is proof the goal outranks the method. The person who reaches the target isn't the one who guessed the route perfectly, it's the one who keeps reallocating attention from how it should have gone to what's actually available now. Trade control theater for control leverage, fewer arguments with timing, more action with what's in reach. Use this in-the-moment reset when the mind starts to speed up. Pause for one slow inhale and ask, what is the next smallest move that still honors the decision? Then do only that, and reassess. That micro-intervention prevents the common collapse where 10 steps feel necessary before any begin, and returns authority to the only place it ever lives, this moment's controllables. Each time this is repeated, the nervous system learns that movement is possible without perfect clarity, which keeps the channel clear for the next cue to surface. The final edge of non-resistance is loyalty. Stay loyal to the desire and the decision even when the scoreboard hasn't caught up, because early data is always noisy, and overreacting to it creates false negatives. Curiosity beats judgment here. Ask what the data is teaching about timing, tactic, or skill gap, then adjust once, simply, and get back into motion. With the channel quiet and the target stable, the next leap is to act as the person for whom this outcome is already normal. No theatrics, just standards. Identity is the governor on behavior, and the fastest way to change behavior is to change what feels normal. Acting as the future self isn't pretending, it's installing standards, constraints, and rhythms that make the outcome a byproduct rather than a miracle. When the target identity becomes the default, decisions stop feeling heroic and start feeling obvious. Start with standards, not theatrics. The future self doesn't try to be consistent, they run a simple, repeatable system. Translate that into 2 or 3 non-negotiables that would be routine for that version of life. If the aim is 10K recurring revenue, the future self standards might be 60 minutes of pipeline daily, 2 follow-ups per lead, 1 weekly experiment. If the aim is stable energy, the standards might be protein at each meal, lights down by 10:30, 3 20-minute walks. These aren't vibes, they're rails that carry momentum on busy days when motivation is thin. Think in constraints like someone who already has what's desired. A million-listener creator doesn't chase every idea. They protect deep work windows, batch episodes, and review metrics weekly without panic. A calm operator doesn't overbook. They leave margin and say no faster. Constraints feel limiting only until it's obvious they're how freedom scales. When in doubt, ask what would be beneath the future self standards here, and stop doing that. Make it visible and frictionless. Elevate cues that match the identity and hide or delay cues that don't. Put the outreach list and template on the desktop, not in a buried folder. Keep a pre-packed gym bag by the door, not in the trunk. Set a nightly shutdown alarm that triggers tomorrow's top 3. Identity sticks when the environment votes with it. Use micro-evidence to lock it in. Each day, capture 1 proof that the identity showed up. A screenshot of a sent pitch, a photo of the finished workout log, a note of a calm decision under pressure. Reviewing a week's proofs builds quiet certainty that the shift is real, which is stronger than inspirational hype and far more renewable. Confidence grows from receipts, not self-talk. Talk like the future self. Replace "if this works" with "as this scales, the bottleneck will be." Swap "I hope I can" for "I'm the kind of person who." Language guides attention and primes behavior. Keep it simple, specific, and present tense so the brain treats it as instruction rather than imagination. Handle rough days without identity collapse. When plans implode, shrink the standard, not the identity. Do 5 minutes of outreach instead of 60. A brisk walk instead of a full lift. 1 paragraph instead of a full script. The rule is something that rhymes with the identity every day. That way the streak is identity-based, not output-based, and recovery is fast. Add an identity audit once a week. Ask 3 questions. What did the future self do well? Where did the current environment pull me backward? What 1 tweak will make next week more automatic? Then implement exactly 1 tweak. Move a cue, change a boundary, pre-commit a slot. Small structural upgrades beat motivational resets. Finally, keep the feel minimal and the actions concrete. The future self isn't louder, they're clearer. They don't need perfect certainty to move. They need the next right move and a clean nervous system. Which is why the next section focuses on speed control, downshifting the body in under 2 minutes so decisions stay sharp and the identity doesn't wobble when pressure spikes. When pressure spikes, the mind speeds up, tunnel vision narrows, and the smartest plan starts to feel risky. Speed control is the skill that drops the nervous system from threat mode into clarity fast enough to save the next decision. The aim isn't Zen perfection, it's a 2-minute reset that restores access to judgment, creativity, and follow-through so the identity doesn't wobble under heat. The difference between a good day and a great week is often how quickly speed is managed in the first stressful 5 minutes. Use the 90-second coherence reset anytime attention fractures. Inhale through the nose for 5.5 seconds, exhale through the nose for 5.5 seconds, and repeat for 9-12 cycles while placing 1 hand lightly on the sternum. This cadence nudges the autonomic nervous system toward balance, increases heart rate variability, and steadies the baroreflex, which is science speak for calmer body, clearer calls. Keep eyes open if working. This is a tactical pit stop, not a retreat. When in doubt, pair the final exhale with 1 question. What's the smallest move that still honors the decision? Upgrade the environment to lower baseline speed before it spikes. Protect 2 clean windows each day. 90-minute blocks with notifications off and 1 visible task. Put a 2-minute transition ritual at the start of each window. 3 paced breaths, a single sentence intention, and the first tiny action. Set a 15-minute timer near the end to check posture. Relax shoulders and choose the next micro step. These tiny resets keep physiology smooth, which keeps cognition online. Treat cues as levers. If noise ramps thoughts, reduce sensory load, turn off badge counts, close extra tabs, put the phone in another room, and set warm color temperature in late hours. If fatigue is the driver, use movement as medicine. A brisk 3-5-minute walk, 20 air squats, or a set of push-ups brings enough blood flow to reset alertness without derailing flow. For mental clutter, perform a 1-minute brain dump of open loops onto a single sheet. Circle the one lever linked to the decision and shelve the rest for review later. Adopt the yellow light rule to catch speed before red. Yellow feels like rushing, shallow breaths and decision ping-pong. The rule: when yellow is noticed, do one coherence minute immediately. Then take the smallest available action that reduces uncertainty. This prevents the spiral where planning inflates into avoidance and returns authority to the present task. It also trains the nervous system to associate stress with swift stabilization instead of runaway stories. Preload 3 micro-interventions for common triggers. For conflict, 1 slow inhale, 1 sentence of curiosity, 1 sentence of boundary. For perfectionism, 1 coherence minute, publish a good enough draft and schedule a quality pass tomorrow. For overwhelm, 5-minute single thing sprint on the most valuable task, then reassess. The preparation matters more than the intensity. Pre-deciding beats reinventing under stress. Make a weekly speed audit part of the identity. Ask, where did velocity hijack decisions? What was the trigger? Fatigue, noise, ambiguity, or social pressure? What's one structural tweak to prevent that trigger next week? Earlier shutdown, batch messaging, calendar buffers, or a visible checklist. Implement exactly 1 change. Speed management scales through systems, not willpower. Finally, remember the aim: not to feel calm all day, but to return to calm on command. The future self doesn't avoid spikes. They recover rapidly and keep the loop running. Desire, decision, non-resistance, action without burning out. With speed under control, momentum compounds quietly, and the next section makes that compounding inevitable. Progress over perfection, where every wobble becomes extra fuel. Perfection sounds noble, but it's a trap waiting for flawless conditions. Bloats decision time, drains energy, and freezes momentum when small, repeatable wins would compound faster. Progress reframes the game. Ship something useful today, learn from the feedback and adjust once, simply, so motion stays continuous and self-belief rises with receipts. The brain rewards completion. Every finished micro-step lowers friction for the next one, which is why consistent good enough outperforms rare perfect every single time. Make the rule simple. Shrink the standard, not the identity. When the day derails, keep the identity alive with the smallest move that rhymes with the goal. 5 prospect messages instead of 50, 10 minutes of script polish instead of a full rewrite, a brisk walk instead of a full workout. This keeps the streak based on who is being, not on one day's output, and it prevents the all-or-nothing crash that destroys week-long momentum in one afternoon. The goal isn't to feel victorious, it's to stay in motion so tomorrow's ramp-up is easy. Use the 70% publish principle. If a task is 70% of the target quality and moves the outcome forward, ship it and schedule a fast improvement pass later. This beats endless tweaking because real-world feedback is superior to private guesswork, and every live iteration sharpens instincts that can't develop in draft mode. Treat each ship as a probe. It's not a referendum on talent, it's a data point that shortens the path to what works. Install a weekly progress loop ritual that takes 10 minutes. Write down 3 lines: what moved the needle, what friction kept appearing, and 1 process tweak to remove that friction next week. Then implement exactly 1 change, batch messages at a set time, template a reply, pre-commit a recording slot, or add a visual checklist for shutdown. Small systems beat sporadic sprints because they remove decision fatigue, and the body learns to relax into a rhythm where action isn't a debate. Reframe stumbles as signal, not verdict. When a plan slips, label the cause plainly: ambiguous scope, low energy window, noisy environment, and pair it with the smallest countermeasure, like scoping by time not tasks, moving the work block earlier, or turning off badge counts. This turns "I failed" into "I found the snag," which preserves confidence and upgrades the system in 1 move. The win is not that the slip didn't happen, it's that it can't repeat under the same conditions. Guard against the perfection twin, over-planning. If planning lasts longer than the first execution chunk, set a hard cap and move. Replace perfect plan, then act with plan for 10 minutes, act for 20, review for 5, and loop. Execution clarifies faster than theory because reality answers questions brainstorming can't touch, and real results keep motivation solvent when inspiration dips. Celebrate receipts, not vibes. Capture 1 proof per day that the identity showed up. A time-stamped outreach block, a screen of analytics reviewed without doom scrolling, a draft published on schedule. At week's end, scan those proofs to train the nervous system that progress is dependable here. Confidence built on evidence is quiet, durable, and doesn't need pep talks to show up. The punchline is simple and powerful. Perfection demands certainty before movement. Progress creates certainty through movement. Keep the loop alive, define the desire, decide without the how, refuse resistance, act as the future self, regulate speed on command, and let every imperfect lap tighten the system. The scoreboard always lags the work. Trust the compounding and keep shipping. The loop is brutally simple and wildly effective. Define a precise desire, make a real decision, refuse resistance, act like the future is normal, regulate speed on command, and let imperfect reps compound until the scoreboard catches up. This isn't about hype, it's about aligning the filter, the state, and the identity, so results become a byproduct of how the day is run. Here's the 24-hour challenge that makes it real. Pick one non-negotiable decision and write it as a single line starting with "I've decided," and include a concrete number and a date. Then do 2 coherence resets today, one right after writing the decision and one before the toughest task. Inhale 5.5 seconds, exhale 5.5 seconds for 10 cycles with eyes open. Take one action the future self would consider obvious, 60 minutes of pipeline, a clean publish, or a focused outreach block, small, specific, and done, and capture one proof that it happened. Comment "decided" with the exact one-liner and the first action taken, then return in 24 hours with your proof to turn this video into a live accountability loop. Subscribe and hit the bell so the next training stacks on today's win, and share this with one person who needs a 2-minute reset and a clean decision. The fastest brain rewiring is evidence, repetition, and community. Make the future the baseline, not the dream.